Desperation makes you do things you never thought you'd do. That's what Naomi Carter kept telling herself as she sat in the Starbucks 3 blocks from her office, staring at the encrypted laptop she'd bought with cash from a store that didn't ask questions. The message on the screen was simple, clinical, like they were discussing a grocery list instead of corporate espionage. Upload the Q3 development roadmap to the secure server. Payment will be transferred within 1 hour of verification. The amount they were offering was exactly what she needed, $250,000. Exactly what the experimental cancer treatment cost, exactly what would save her mother's life. Naomi's hands shook as she pulled the USB drive from her purse. She'd copied the files yesterday, staying late at the office, her heart hammering every time someone walked past her cubicle. The Q3 development roadmap for Chen Technologies' new AI platform. Proprietary information that would give competitors a 6-month advantage. Information that was worth millions to the right buyer. Information she was about to sell to a complete stranger on the dark web. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother's nurse. "Your mom is asking for you." She had a rough night. Naomi closed her eyes, fighting back tears. Her mother, who'd raised her alone after her father died, who'd worked 2 jobs to put Naomi through college, who'd never asked for anything, was dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the doctor said. 6 months maybe, probably less. Unless she could get into the experimental trial at Johns Hopkins, unless Naomi could come up with $250,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it. Her mother's savings were gone, drained by the first round of treatments. Naomi's own savings, her 401k, everything she could borrow, it all added up to maybe $60,000. Nowhere near enough. She'd tried everything legal, GoFundMe campaigns that barely raised $10,000, calls to charities and foundations that all said the same thing: "We're sorry. We can't help with experimental treatments." Medical loans that laughed at her when she couldn't provide collateral. She'd exhausted every option, every door had closed in her face, and then 2 weeks ago a message had appeared in her personal email. "We know you need money. We can help. We need information from Chen Technologies. Interested?" She should have deleted it, should have reported it to her supervisor, should have done a dozen things that weren't sitting here about to commit a felony. But her mother was dying, and Naomi had access to exactly what these people wanted. And the amount they were offering was exactly, suspiciously exactly what she needed. 1 crime, she told herself. 1 file. Save her mother's life, then never do anything like this again. Live with the guilt, but keep her mother alive. She could live with guilt. She couldn't live with watching her mother die when she could have done something. Naomi plugged in, the USB drive, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. This was it, the moment where she became a criminal, where she betrayed her company and her ethics and everything she believed in, for love, for family, for the impossible choice between right and survival. She uploaded the file. The progress bar crawled across the screen, 90%, 95, 100, upload complete. Naomi unplugged the USB drive, her heart racing so fast she thought she might pass out. It was done. She'd crossed a line she could never uncross. A notification appeared on the screen. Payment confirmed. Check your account. She pulled out her phone, logged into her bank account. There it was, $250,000 appearing like magic, like blood money, like her mother's salvation. Naomi closed the laptop, shoved it into her bag. She needed to get out of here, needed to get to the hospital, needed to tell her mother that the treatment was possible now, that everything would be okay. She stood up and a man sat down across from her. He was Korean, maybe mid-30s, wearing an expensive suit and an expression that was completely neutral. He placed a badge on the table between them. "Kang Min Seok," he said in lightly accented English. "Internal Affairs, Chen Technologies Corporate Security." Naomi sat back down. Her legs wouldn't have held her anyway. That file you just uploaded, Min-seok continued, his voice calm and professional, went directly to our secure monitoring system. The buyer you thought you were dealing with? That was me. You just committed corporate espionage in a controlled sting operation, Ms. Carter. Naomi couldn't breathe. Her vision tunneled. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. I need you to come with me, Min-seok said, standing up. We have a lot to discuss. No, Naomi whispered. No, I can't, my mother, she needs. Your mother needs you not to be in federal prison, Min-seok said, not unkindly. Come with me. Now, please don't make me call security. Naomi stood on shaking legs and followed him out of the Starbucks. A black sedan waited at the curb. Min-seok opened the back door, gestured for her to get in. She did, moving like a robot, her mind unable to process what was happening. The money in her account, was it even real? Had she just destroyed her life for nothing? The car drove for 15 minutes, pulling into an underground parking garage of a building Naomi didn't recognize. Min-seok led her to an elevator, then down a hallway into a small conference room with no windows. Sit, he said. She sat. Min-seok took the seat across from her, placing a folder on the table between them. He studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Why? He finally asked. Why what? Naomi's voice came out barely above a whisper. Why did you do it? You've worked at Chen Technologies for 4 years, exemplary record, no financial irregularities until 2 months ago when you started liquidating everything you owned. So why? Sell company secrets? What changed? My mother is dying, Naomi said, tears streaming down her face now. She has cancer and insurance won't cover the treatment that could save her, and I've tried everything. I've begged and borrowed, and I'm out of options. I needed the money. I needed to save her. Min-seok was quiet, his face giving nothing away. So you decided to commit corporate espionage? Yes, Naomi said. I'm not a criminal. I've never done anything wrong in my life, but she's dying and I could save her, and I couldn't let her die when I had access to something that could help. Do you understand how serious this is? Min-seok said. This isn't petty theft. This is corporate espionage, federal crime. You could go to prison for 10 years. I know, Naomi sobbed. I know, and I did it anyway because 10 years in prison is worth it if my mother gets to live. Min-seok opened the folder, pulled out documents. These are your mother's medical records, he said. I pulled them this morning. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, experimental immunotherapy trial at Johns Hopkins, cost of $250,000 not covered by insurance. Treatment needs to start within 3 months or the cancer will be too advanced. You investigated me, Naomi said. Of course I investigated you, Min-seok said. That's my job. When employees start showing signs of financial desperation, we watch them. When mysterious buyers start making contact, we intercept. You were a test case, Ms. Carter. We suspected someone inside Chen Technologies has been selling secrets for months, maybe years. We needed to understand how they were being recruited, how they were being paid. So we created a fake buyer, reached out to financially vulnerable employees, and waited to see who would bite. Congratulations, you passed our test. Naomi felt sick. So the money isn't real. The money is real, Min-seok said. It's sitting in your account right now. We can't exactly conduct a sting operation with fake payments. But that money is now evidence in a federal investigation. You can't touch it without admitting guilt. So I lose my mother anyway, Naomi said bitterly. I go to prison and she dies alone, and I destroyed my life for nothing. Min-seok was quiet for a long moment, something conflicted crossing his face. There might be another option, he said slowly. What option? Naomi demanded. Prison or what? You ruin my career and let me go? Either way, my mother dies. The other option is you help me, Min-seok said. Help you what? Catch the real criminals, he said. The actual person or people who've been selling Chen Technologies' secrets. You were just a test, Ms. Carter, but there's someone else. Someone who's been doing this for months, who's probably sold dozens of files, who's cost the company millions. I need to catch them, and you're going to help me do it. And if I refuse, Naomi asked. Then I file my report, recommend prosecution, and you spend the next decade in federal prison while your mother dies, Min-seok said flatly. Your choice. That's not a choice, Naomi said. No, Min-seok agreed. It's not. But it's the only one you have. What do I have to do? She asked. Min-seok pulled out more documents. The real seller, whoever they are, has been very careful. We don't know their identity, don't know how they're being contacted, don't know how they're moving the money. But we know they exist because we've traced the leaks. 17 separate instances over 8 months, all different types of proprietary information. The pattern suggests someone with high-level access, someone in senior management or above. You want me to find the real buyers, Naomi said. Exactly, Min-seok said. You're going to do what you just did, but this time for real. You're going to go looking for actual criminal organizations that purchase corporate secrets. You're going to put out feelers on the dark web, use the same channels where you found our fake operation. Eventually, the real buyers will contact you. When they do, you're going to offer to sell them information. We'll provide fake but convincing files loaded with tracking code. When the buyers receive them, they'll need to verify the information is legitimate. The only way they can do that is by checking with their inside source, the person who's already been selling to them. When they make that contact, we'll be listening. We'll trace it back to the real mole. So I'm bait, Naomi said, to draw out the real criminal network and their inside source. Exactly, Min-seok said. You failed our test, but that makes you perfect for this. You've already proven you're willing to cross that line. The real buyers will believe you in a way they'd never believe an undercover agent. You'll make contact, sell them tracked files, and we'll follow the trail straight to whoever has really been betraying this company. What if I get caught? What if whoever is really selling figures out I'm working with you? Then you'll probably be in serious danger, Min-seok said honestly. These aren't amateurs we're dealing with. The level of sophistication in these breaches suggests organized crime, possibly international. If they think you're compromising their operation, they won't hesitate to eliminate the threat. You're asking me to risk my life, Naomi said. I'm asking you to stay out of prison, Min-seok said, and to help catch the people who are actually destroying this company from the inside. People who, unlike you, are doing it purely for greed, not desperation. Naomi looked at him, this cold, professional Korean investigator who held her entire future in his hands. What about my mother? She asked quietly. What about her treatment? Min-seok hesitated. I can't promise anything, he said. But if you help me catch these people, if your cooperation leads to arrests and recovery of stolen assets, there's usually a whistleblower reward. It might be enough to cover her treatment. And if I agree to help you and we don't catch anyone, or it takes too long and she dies while I'm playing spy, then at least you tried, Min-seok said, and you won't be in prison. It's not much, but it's something. Naomi thought about her mother, about the treatment that could save her, about the choice between definitely going to prison or possibly surviving this nightmare. Fine, she said. I'll help you. But I want something in writing, something that says I'm cooperating, that protects me if this goes wrong. Min-seok nodded. I'll have the legal team draw up an immunity agreement. As long as you cooperate fully, as long as you don't actually sell any real secrets, you'll be protected from prosecution for the sting operation. But Naomi, if you double-cross me, if you actually start selling real information to these people, all bets are off. I won't double-cross you, she said. I never wanted to be a criminal in the first place. I just wanted to save my mother. I believe you, Min Seok said, and something in his expression softened slightly. Which is why I'm offering this option instead of just arresting you. My job is to catch criminals, not to destroy desperate people who made one terrible choice for understandable reasons. Thank you, Naomi whispered. Don't thank me yet, Min Seok said. This is going to be dangerous and complicated, and there's no guarantee it works. But if we're lucky, we catch the real criminals, save your mother, and you get to keep your life. That's worth fighting for. The immunity agreement was drawn up that afternoon. Naomi signed it with shaking hands, legally binding herself to cooperation with an investigation that could get her killed. Min Seok walked her through the protocols, encrypted communication channels, emergency contact procedures, cover stories for why she'd be meeting with him. Your co-workers can't know, he emphasized. Your friends can't know. If anyone asks, you're being interviewed as a potential witness in an unrelated corporate matter. The fewer people who know what you're really doing, the safer you'll be. What about my mother? Naomi asked. Can I tell her? Absolutely not, Min Seok said. The less she knows, the better. If something goes wrong, if the people we're chasing realize you're working with us, they might try to use her as leverage. Keep her in the dark. Keep her safe. Naomi went to the hospital that evening, sat beside her mother's bed, held her fragile hand. The treatment, Naomi said. I got the money. We can get you into the trial. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. Baby, how? Don't ask Mom, Naomi said. Just don't ask, please. You didn't do anything illegal, her mother said, searching Naomi's face. Tell me you didn't compromise yourself for me. I did what I had to do, Naomi said carefully. And it's going to be okay. You're going to get better and everything will work out. Promise me. Her mother gripped her hand with surprising strength. Promise me that whatever you did, you're not in danger. I promise, Naomi lied. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi lived in a state of constant anxiety. She went to work every day, did her job, acted normal while knowing that Min Seok and his team were watching everything. Her emails, her phone calls, her movements. They'd installed monitoring software on all her devices, turned her into a walking surveillance operation. And she went looking for buyers. Using the dark web channels where she'd originally found Min Seok's fake operation, she started putting out carefully worded messages. Data analyst at major tech firm, access to proprietary AI development information, interested in discussing opportunities with serious buyers. Min Seok and Jennifer coached her on exactly what to say, how to sound like a real seller without actually offering anything specific enough to constitute a crime. It took 12 days. An encrypted message appeared through one of the dark web channels, professional and direct. We represent an organization that acquires proprietary technology information. Your profile suggests you have access to valuable assets. We're interested in discussing a business relationship. What can you provide? Naomi's hands shook as she forwarded the message to Min Seok using the secure protocol he'd set up. His response came within minutes. The language patterns match what we've seen in communications we recovered from the previous leaks. Tell them you have access to Q4 development roadmaps. Make them negotiate. Show them you understand the value of what you're selling. We're going to give them exactly what they want, but the files will be marked. Microtransactions in the code that will let us trace everywhere they go, everyone who accesses them. Tell them you need a week to get the files without raising suspicion. For the next week, Naomi worked with Min Seok's team to prepare the bait. The operation had expanded beyond just Min Seok now. There was Jennifer Park, a Korean-American cybersecurity expert who designed the tracking code. Marcus Webb, a former FBI agent who handled the financial tracing. And Sarah Chen, no relation to the company's founding family, who coordinated with federal prosecutors to ensure everything they were doing would hold up in court. Naomi met with them in the secure conference room, learning about digital forensics and money laundering and all the technical details of catching corporate criminals. Jennifer explained the tracking code in terms Naomi could understand. "Think of it like microscopic breadcrumbs," she said. "Every time someone opens these files, every time they copy them or send them to someone else, the code sends a tiny ping back to our servers. It tells us the IP address, the device ID, the timestamp, everything we need to build a map of where the files go and who accesses them." "And they won't detect it?" Naomi asked. "Not unless they're looking for it specifically," Jennifer said. "And even then it's embedded so deep in the file structure that it looks like normal metadata. We've tested this against the best scanning software available and it passes every time." "What happens when we trace it back to the source?" Naomi asked. "Then we have a choice," Marcus said. "We can move immediately, arrest everyone involved and hope the evidence holds. Or we can watch and wait. Let them think they're getting away with it. Gather more evidence until the case is absolutely airtight." "Given that we're dealing with someone high up in the company, someone with resources and expensive lawyers," Min-seok said, "we're going to wait. We need enough evidence that even the best legal team can't create reasonable doubt." During these meetings, Naomi started to see the investigation as more than just her desperate attempt to avoid prison. These people, Min-seok's team, they genuinely cared about stopping corporate crime. Jennifer talked about how much damage these leaks did, not just to the company but to all the employees whose jobs depended on Chen Technologies staying competitive. Marcus talked about the international criminal networks that thrived on corporate espionage, how the money from these sales often funded worse crimes. Sarah talked about the importance of holding powerful people accountable, of proving that wealth and position couldn't protect you from justice. They were true believers, and somehow Naomi had become part of their mission. One night after a particularly long session, Min-seok drove Naomi back to her apartment. It was after midnight, the streets of San Francisco quiet. "You're doing really well," he said, "with all of this, with the pressure and the fear. Most people would have fallen apart by now." "I feel like I'm falling apart," Naomi admitted. "I'm terrified every second of every day. I jump every time my phone buzzes. I can't sleep without nightmares. I keep thinking about what happens if we don't catch them in time. If my mother dies before the whistleblower reward comes through." "That's normal," Min-seok said. "Fear means you understand the stakes. It means you're taking this seriously. But Naomi, I need you to know that regardless of what happens with the investigation, I'm going to make sure your mother gets her treatment. Even if we don't catch anyone. Even if the reward doesn't come through. Even then," he said, "I've been putting away money from every case I close. It's not much, but it's enough to cover most of the treatment cost. And I have family money I never touch, inheritance from my grandparents. Between those two sources, we can make sure your mother gets what she needs." "You'd do that?" Naomi said, stunned. "You'd pay for my mother's treatment even though I'm just, what, a witness? An asset in your investigation?" "You're not just an asset," Min-seok said quietly. "You're someone who made a desperate choice for someone you love. You're someone who's being incredibly brave in an impossible situation. And you remind me of why I do this work, not to punish people but to help them. To make sure the system works for everyone, not just the wealthy and powerful." "I don't know what to say," Naomi whispered. "Say you'll keep fighting," Min-seok said. "Say you'll trust me to keep you safe. Say you'll believe that this is going to work out." "I'll try," she said. "That's all I can ask," he replied. 2 days later, Naomi uploaded the tracked files. It was sophisticated stuff, way beyond Naomi's technical understanding, but Min-seok explained it patiently during their late-night meetings in the secure conference room. "The code is embedded at the byte level," he told her. "Even if they scan for malware, they won't find it because it's not malware, it's just data that happens to communicate with our servers. Every time they open the file, every time they copy it, every time they send it to someone else, we'll know. We'll be able to trace where the files go, who the buyers distribute them to, map out their entire client network. And that will lead us to the real seller, Naomi asked. Not directly, Min Seok said. The tracking code tells us about the buyers and their distribution network, which is valuable for the criminal case. But what catches the inside source is different. When you offer to sell these files to the buyers, they're not just going to take your word that the information is legitimate. They're going to want verification. They can't verify proprietary Chen Technologies information themselves. They need someone inside the company to confirm it's real. So they'll contact their existing source, their inside seller, and ask them to verify what you're offering. And when they make that contact, Naomi said, understanding now. We'll be listening, Min Seok confirmed. We've already got warrants prepared for key suspects, people with access to the type of information that's been leaked. The moment the buyers reach out to verify your files, the moment their inside source responds, we'll know exactly who's been betraying the company. During these late-night meetings, Naomi started to see past Min Seok's cold, professional exterior. He worked until 2, 3 in the morning, surviving on coffee and determination. He was meticulous, checking every detail multiple times, always thinking 3 steps ahead. And sometimes, when he thought she wasn't looking, she'd catch him staring at her mother's medical file with an expression that looked almost like guilt. One night after they'd been working for 6 hours straight, Naomi finally asked, "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" he asked without looking up from his laptop. "Helping me," she said. "You could have just arrested me, filed your report, moved on to the next case. Why offer me this deal?" "Because you're not the criminal I'm looking for," Min Seok said. "You made one desperate choice for someone you love. That's not the same as systematic corporate espionage for profit." "There's more to it than that," Naomi said. "I've watched you. You get this look when you see my mother's file, like it's personal." Min Seok was quiet for a long moment. "My older brother," he finally said. "He died 7 years ago. He worked for a pharmaceutical company in Seoul, researcher developing a new cancer drug. The company was cutting corners on safety testing because they wanted to beat competitors to market. My brother found out, tried to report it through proper channels. The company buried his complaints. Then when he threatened to go public, they framed him for stealing research and got him fired. He killed himself 3 months later. Couldn't handle the shame, couldn't find work, couldn't fight back against their lawyers and money." "I'm sorry," Naomi said quietly. "That's why you do this work," she guessed. "Corporate investigations, catching the people who think money puts them above the law." "I became an investigator because I failed him," Min Seok said, his voice hard. "I was in law school when it happened. Thought I was too busy with my own life to really listen when he tried to tell me what was happening. By the time I paid attention, it was too late. So now I catch people like the ones who destroyed my brother. And I try not to destroy people who remind me of him. People who are just trying to do the right thing in an impossible situation." "I'm not doing the right thing," Naomi said. "I sold company secrets." "You sold one file in a sting operation to save your mother's life," Min Seok corrected. "That's different than selling 17 files over 8 months to buy a yacht." "Context matters, motivation matters. The law doesn't always recognize that, but I do." They sat in silence for a moment, 2 people bound together by desperation and loss and the impossible choices that trauma creates. "Thank you," Naomi said, "for seeing me as more than just a criminal." "Thank you for trusting me," Min Seok said. "I know this is terrifying and you're putting your life in my hands. I won't let you down." Naomi studied his face in the harsh fluorescent light of the conference room. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. "When was the last time you slept?" she asked. Really slept? Not just passed out at your desk? Min-seok smiled slightly. Define really slept. More than 3 hours at a time. He thought about it. Last month, maybe? You're going to burn out, Naomi said. You can't catch criminals if you're too exhausted to think straight. I'll sleep when this case is closed, Min-seok said. When you're safe and the real sellers are in custody. You care about this case, Naomi observed. More than just another investigation. Every case is personal, Min-seok said. Every criminal I catch is one less person like the ones who destroyed my brother. But yes, this one especially. Because you remind me why I do this work. You made a terrible choice for the right reasons and you're being given a chance to make it right. That's the kind of justice system I want to believe in. One with room for redemption and second chances. Not everyone would see it that way, Naomi said. Most investigators would just see a criminal who got caught. Then it's good I'm not most investigators, Min-seok said. 2 days later, Naomi uploaded the tracked files through the encrypted channel. The buyers confirmed receipt and said they were reviewing the information. Payment would follow after verification, they said. $500,000 upon confirmation that the files were legitimate. Now came the hard part, waiting. The tracking data started coming in within hours, showing the files being accessed in multiple locations. Singapore first, then Amsterdam, then several other international locations as the buyers distributed the information to their clients. We're mapping their entire network, Jennifer said, pointing to a visualization on her screen. Every time someone opens these files, we see it. This is going to help us dismantle not just the person selling secrets, but the entire criminal organization buying them. But that's not what catches our inside source, Min-seok reminded everyone. We're waiting for the buyers to reach out for verification. That's when we'll know who's been betraying the company. The wait was excruciating. Naomi went to work each day, terrified that one of the 12 suspects would figure out what was happening. Min-seok's team had identified 12 people with the level of access needed to have committed the leaks. Senior executives, VPs, people with power and resources. Any one of them could be the traitor. We're monitoring communications for all 12 suspects, Marcus explained to Naomi during one of their evening briefings. We've got warrants for their phones, their computers, their network activity. The moment any of them receives contact from the buyers asking for verification, we'll know. How will the buyers contact them? Naomi asked. Could be anything, Jennifer said. Encrypted phone call, secure messaging app, dark web channels, even old-fashioned dead drops, though that's unlikely for something this time sensitive. But we're monitoring all of it. Whatever method they use, we'll see it. Days passed. Naomi spent every evening at the hospital with her mother, whose condition continued to deteriorate. The cancer was spreading faster now, the pain medication increased, the conversations about hospice becoming more frequent. Mom, just hold on a little longer, Naomi begged. The money is coming. We're going to get you into that trial. I'm ready, baby, her mother said weakly. If this is my time, I'm ready. Stop fighting so hard to save me. I can't stop, Naomi sobbed. I won't stop. After 2 weeks of surveillance with no contact, Min-seok started to worry that maybe they'd been too obvious, that the inside source had somehow been tipped off. Maybe we should have Naomi offer different information, Marcus suggested. Something even more sensitive that would force verification. Before they could decide, Jennifer burst into the conference room. We've got contact, she said. One of the 12 suspects just received an encrypted message from a number in Singapore, a number we've previously identified as connected to the buyers. Who? Min-seok demanded. David Chen, Jennifer said. Senior VP of Product Development, the CEO's son. He just received the verification request and we're monitoring his response in real time. They crowded around Jennifer's workstation as she pulled up the communications intercept. David Chen had received an encrypted message through a secure messaging app. Jennifer had broken the encryption within seconds using tools the NSA had shared for this investigation. The message read, "New source offering Q4 AI development roadmaps and training datasets. Claims access to executive-level information including board meeting minutes and technical specifications. Can you verify these items exist and assess whether asking price of $500K is appropriate? Need confirmation before we proceed with purchase." There was a tense silence in the room as they waited for David Chen's response. "Come on," Marcus muttered. "Take the bait. Confirm you're their inside source." 30 seconds passed. A minute, 2 minutes. Then David Chen began typing. They watched in real time as his response appeared character by character. "Yes, those files exist and are highly confidential. Restricted to executive committee and senior technical staff. Worth significantly more than $500K to the right buyer. Easily 2 to 3 million if sold to our primary competitors. But I need to know where this new source came from. We had an exclusive arrangement." "Why are you working with someone else?" "That's not quite enough," Sarah said tensely. He confirmed the files exist, but a good lawyer could argue he was just answering a hypothetical question from what he thought was a legitimate business inquiry. "We need more." The buyers responded quickly. Source approached us independently through dark web channels. We are vetting them now. If legitimate, having two sources inside Chen Technologies provides redundancy and competitive pricing. Unless you have objection to sharing this particular revenue stream. David Chen's reply came even faster, and this time it was damning. "Strong objection. We had exclusivity in our contract and I expect you to honor it. I've been feeding you premium intel for over a year, 17 separate packages, and you want to cut me out? If this new seller becomes a problem, I can make them disappear. I've got contacts who handle these things quietly. Just say the word and I'll eliminate the competition." "That's it," Sarah said, her voice shaking with excitement. "Clear confession to being their inside source, acknowledgement of 17 previous sales, conspiracy to commit murder. We have everything we need." "Move now," Min-seok ordered, already reaching for his phone. "Full tactical team, arrest warrants for David Chen and any known associates, federal coordination for the international buyers. Marcus, get protection on Naomi immediately, armed escort, safe house, the works. He just threatened to kill anyone who threatens his operation, and Naomi is absolutely a threat. And get security on her mother," Min-seok added. "Hospital room, plain clothes officers make sure no one gets near her." Everything moved fast after that. Within an hour, Naomi was surrounded by federal marshals being moved to a secure location. Her mother was transferred to a private wing of the hospital with armed guards posted outside. The arrest team mobilized, coordinating with FBI, corporate security, and local police. Min-seok pulled Naomi aside before the marshals took her to the safe house. "You did it," he said quietly. "You helped us catch him. Now we just need to make sure you stay safe until he's in custody." "How long will that take?" Naomi asked. "Hours," Min-seok promised. "We're moving on him at dawn tomorrow, 6 a.m. raid on his home. By this time tomorrow, David Chen will be in federal custody and you'll be able to breathe again." "Thank you," Naomi said, "for everything, for seeing me as more than a criminal, for giving me a chance to make this right." "Thank you for taking that chance," Min-seok said, "for trusting me even though you had every reason not to, for being brave enough to risk yourself to catch real criminals. You're remarkable, Naomi, don't ever forget that." The marshals took her away before she could respond, but she held onto his words like a lifeline. The arrest happened at exactly 6 a.m., A joint task force of federal agents, corporate security personnel, and local police descended on David Chen's Pacific Heights mansion with the dawn. News helicopters captured everything, the footage playing on every channel within minutes. David Chen, heir to a billion-dollar tech empire, being led out of his mansion in handcuffs while his wife screamed and his children cried, and his father, the CEO, watched from the doorway with an expression of absolute devastation. The man who had everything, who'd been born into wealth and privilege and a guaranteed future, being arrested for corporate espionage and conspiracy to commit murder. Simultaneously, coordinated arrests were happening in Singapore and Amsterdam and 3 other cities across the globe. The international buyers, the money launderers who'd moved David's payments through offshore accounts, the technical specialists who'd helped him bypass security systems. The entire criminal network being dismantled in one carefully orchestrated operation that had taken months to set up. The scandal exploded across every news outlet. Tech dynasty in crisis, the headlines screamed. CEO's son arrested for corporate espionage, heir accused of ordering hit on whistleblower. Company insider sold secrets for over a year. Billion-dollar sting operation exposes high-level corruption. Naomi watched the news from the federal safe house, Min Seok beside her on the couch, both of them exhausted but relieved. "It's over," he said. "It's really over. You're safe now. David Chen is in custody. The buyers are being prosecuted internationally. The whole network is shut down." "Is it really over, though?" Naomi asked. "His father is one of the most powerful men in Silicon Valley. Won't he just hire the best lawyers, make this go away?" "He'll try," Min Seok admitted. "The Chen family will deploy an army of lawyers, probably already has them working just to save their name from a scandal. But the evidence is overwhelming, so they'll have no choice but to let David fight his battles. We have David on tape admitting to 17 separate sales, acknowledging his exclusive relationship with the buyers, threatening to kill you. We have financial records showing millions in offshore payments. We have the tracked files proving exactly what was stolen. No lawyer is good enough to explain all of that away." "What happens now?" Naomi asked. "Now we build the case," Sarah said, joining them in the safe house. "Federal prosecutors are already drafting charges: corporate espionage, conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, fraud, obstruction of justice. The list goes on. David Chen is looking at decades in federal prison. And me? What happens to me?" "You get your life back," Min Seok said. "The whistleblower reward for cases like this, especially ones involving international criminal networks, is substantial. Typically 10 to 30% of recovered damages. Given that David's actions cost Chen Technologies at least $20 million in stolen intellectual property, lost competitive advantage and stock price impact, and we've recovered approximately $15 million through asset seizures and penalties, you're looking at between $1.5 and $4.5 million. The exact amount will be determined by the courts, but it's going to be enough. More than enough for your mother's treatment and your own financial security." Naomi started crying, all the tension and fear and desperation of the past months pouring out in great shaking sobs. "She's going to live," she gasped between tears. "My mother is going to live." "Yes," Min Seok said, pulling her close, letting her cry against his shoulder. "She is. You saved her, Naomi. You made one terrible choice, but then you fought like hell to make it right. You cooperated, you put yourself in danger, you helped us catch actual criminals. That takes more courage than most people will ever have to show. And you almost destroyed yourself doing it," he added quietly, one hand stroking her hair while she fell apart. "You lived in constant fear for months, put yourself at risk, lied to everyone you care about, carried this enormous weight all alone. But you didn't break. You survived, and your mother gets to live, and that's what matters." They held each other in that safe house while the news played coverage of David Chen's arrest on repeat. two people who'd been brought together by investigation and desperation, who'd become something more through shared danger and slowly revealed vulnerabilities. When Naomi's tears finally subsided, she pulled back and looked at Min Seok. "When this is really over," she said, "when my mother is in treatment and the trial is done and life goes back to something like normal, are you going to take me to dinner? Like you said you would." "I am," Min Seok promised. "Somewhere nice where we can celebrate survival and talk about things that have nothing to do with corporate espionage or dying mothers or impossible choices. Somewhere we can just be two people getting to know each other without all this weight." "I'd like that," Naomi said. "I'd really like that. But Min Seok, what if we only work under pressure? What if when everything is safe and normal we don't make sense anymore?" "Then we'll find out," he said. "But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we've seen each other at our worst and most vulnerable, and we've chosen to care about each other anyway. That's a better foundation than most relationships start with. Most relationships don't start with one person catching the other committing a felony," Naomi pointed out. "True," Min Seok said with a small smile. "But maybe that's what makes us special." The trial took 4 months to prepare and another 2 months to conduct. David Chen fought the charges initially, his legal team claiming he was being framed, that business rivals were conspiring against the Chen family, that the evidence had been obtained illegally. They filed motion after motion to suppress the wiretap evidence, to exclude the financial records, to dismiss charges on technicality after technicality. But Min Seok and his team had been meticulous. Every warrant was properly obtained. Every piece of evidence had a clear chain of custody. Every procedure was followed to the letter. There was no legal grounds for dismissal. The trial became a media sensation. Court TV covered every single day of proceedings. Financial networks brought in experts to analyze the implications for corporate governance and security. Tech blogs dissected every detail of how the espionage had been conducted and how it had been caught. The Chen family's fall from grace played out in public, their dynasty crumbling under the weight of David's crimes. And through it all, Naomi had to testify. She spent 3 grueling days on the witness stand telling her story to a packed courtroom. The desperate search for money to save her mother. The decision to respond to what she thought was a real buyer but was actually Min Seok's sting operation. Getting caught. The choice to cooperate and help catch the real criminals. The fear she'd lived with for months. The moment when David Chen had threatened to have her killed. David Chen's defense attorneys tried to tear her apart on cross-examination. They suggested she was the real mastermind, that she'd orchestrated everything to frame their client and collect the whistleblower reward. They painted her as a desperate criminal willing to say anything to avoid prison. They questioned her mother's illness, suggested she'd exaggerated it for sympathy. But the evidence didn't support their narrative, and Naomi held firm under their attacks. "I made one terrible choice," Naomi said on the stand, her voice steady despite 3 hours of hostile questioning. "I responded to what I thought was a buyer, and I sold one file in a sting operation to try to save my mother's life. I'm not proud of it. I'll have to live with that choice for the rest of my life. But I didn't do it for greed or profit. I did it because my mother was dying and I was out of options. And when Mr. Min Seok gave me a chance to make it right, I took it. I spent months helping his team catch the real criminals. Mr. Chen had been selling secrets for over a year before I ever made my single mistake. He sold 17 different packages of information. He made millions of dollars. And when he thought I might expose him, he threatened to have me murdered. We are not the same." The jury saw through the defense's attempts to shift blame. After 6 weeks of testimony and evidence, they deliberated for only 8 hours before reaching a verdict. Guilty on all counts. 17 counts of corporate espionage, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder, 7 counts of money laundering, 3 counts of fraud, 2 counts of obstruction of justice. At sentencing, the judge was harsh and unsparing. "Mr. Chen," she said, looking down at him from the bench, "you were born with every advantage: wealth, education, opportunity, a guaranteed position in your family's company, a future that most people can only dream of. And you threw it all away for greed. And when your crimes were about to be exposed, you threatened to murder an innocent woman whose only crime was trying to save her dying mother. This court cannot and will not treat you differently because of your last name or your family's wealth or your connections. The sentence is 25 years in federal prison with no eligibility for parole for 15 years. In addition, you will forfeit all assets obtained through your criminal activities and pay restitution to Chen Technologies in the amount of $20 million. David Chen showed no emotion as he was led away in handcuffs, his face blank, his future destroyed. His father sat in the gallery with his head in his hands, a broken man who'd lost his son and his heir and possibly his company. The dynasty he'd built over decades had been shattered by his son's greed in a single year. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Min Seok and the prosecution team. "This sends a clear message," the lead prosecutor said into the microphones. "No one is above the law. Wealth and privilege cannot protect you from the consequences of your crimes. Corporate espionage is not a victimless crime. It damages companies, costs jobs, undermines innovation, and in this case nearly cost an innocent woman her life. We're grateful to the brave whistleblower who came forward and to the dedicated investigators who built this case. Justice has been served." Min Seok found Naomi in the crowd, and they shared a look of relief and exhaustion and something deeper that neither was quite ready to name yet. The company recovered most of the stolen assets through the criminal proceedings and related civil lawsuits. Chen Technologies sued David Chen personally, sued the international buyers, sued everyone connected to the criminal network. They recovered approximately $15 million in total, enough to partially offset the damage, though the real cost in lost competitive advantage could never be fully calculated. The international buyers received sentences ranging from 10 to 20 years in their respective countries. The network that had operated for over a year, that had stolen secrets from multiple companies, not just Chen Technologies, was completely dismantled. And Naomi received her whistleblower reward 6 weeks after the sentencing. $2.8 million after taxes and legal fees, more money than she'd ever imagined having. More than enough. She deposited the check and immediately called Johns Hopkins. "My mother needs to be enrolled in your pancreatic cancer immunotherapy trial," she said. "And I can pay for it. All of it. Whatever it costs." Her mother started treatment 2 weeks later. Patricia Carter, who'd been given months to live, who'd been preparing to die, suddenly had hope. The experimental immunotherapy that had seemed impossible was now reality. The doctors at Johns Hopkins were cautiously optimistic. "She's a good candidate," the lead oncologist told Naomi. "Her overall health, despite the advanced cancer, is in her favor. The treatment works best in patients who are otherwise strong, who have the reserves to handle the side effects. Your mother is a fighter. I can see where you get it from. The treatment was brutal." After 3 months, the doctors upgraded their language from cautiously optimistic to genuinely hopeful. After 6 months, they started talking about remission as a real possibility. Through all of it, Min Seok was there. He'd taken a position teaching corporate law and ethics at UC Berkeley, walking away from corporate investigations entirely. "I realized I was just punishing myself over and over," he told Naomi one day at the hospital. "Every case was about my brother, about trying to save people the way I failed to save him. Now I'm helping prevent the next generation of business leaders from becoming the criminals I used to chase. That's more meaningful than catching people after they've already done damage." Naomi understood completely. She'd left Chen Technologies too, unable to stay at the company where so much had happened. She'd taken a position at a nonprofit focused on corporate accountability and ethics, using her experience to help other companies build better security and compliance systems. They were both rebuilding themselves, choosing prevention over punishment, choosing to move forward rather than staying trapped in the past. Min-seok visited the hospital several times a week during Patricia's treatment, bringing books and Korean food and quiet companionship. He and Patricia developed their own relationship, independent of Naomi. They'd talk for hours while Naomi ran errands or met with doctors discussing everything from politics to gardening to Korean history. "You raised a remarkable daughter," Min-seok told Patricia one afternoon while Naomi was downstairs getting coffee. "She made one mistake out of desperation and then spent months correcting it, putting herself in real danger to help catch actual criminals. That kind of character doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from good parenting." "I did my best," Patricia said, her voice weak but warm. "Single mother, working 2 jobs, I wasn't always there for her as much as I wanted to be. But I taught her values. I taught her that family matters, that you fight for the people you love, that integrity is more important than success." "You taught her well," Min-seok said. "Those values made her trustworthy when I had to decide whether to arrest her or give her a second chance." "Tell me something," Patricia said, studying his face. "Why did you give her that chance?" Most investigators would have just thrown the book at her, built their career on another conviction. Min-seok was quiet for a long moment. "Because I failed someone I loved," he finally said. "My brother needed help and I was too busy with my own life to see how desperate he was. By the time I paid attention, he was gone. Naomi reminded me of him, desperate and backed into a corner and making terrible choices. I thought, this time I can help. This time I can make a different choice. And you saved her life," Patricia said. "Not just from prison, but from the people who wanted to kill her. That makes you family as far as I'm concerned." "I'd be honored to be family," Min-seok said quietly. "Your daughter means more to me than I know how to express." "She knows," Patricia said with a knowing smile. "I see how she looks at you when she thinks no one's watching, like you're her anchor in a storm." 9 months into treatment, Patricia was declared cancer-free. "No evidence of disease," the oncologist said, showing them the latest scans. "The tumors are gone. The cancer markers are normal. Mrs. Carter, you've achieved complete remission of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. That's extraordinary." "It's a miracle," Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. "God and science and my daughter's love, that's what saved me." Naomi cried too, holding her mother's hands, feeling the strength that had returned to them. "You're going to be okay," she kept saying. "You're really going to be okay." Their first official date was 2 weeks after Patricia's cancer-free diagnosis. Min-seok took Naomi to an upscale Korean restaurant in the Mission District, a place with traditional dishes served in modern presentations, soft lighting, and intimate booths. "This is amazing," Naomi said after tasting the kimchi jjigae, the complex flavors of fermented cabbage and pork and tofu warming her from the inside. "My mother would love this." "She will love it," Min-seok corrected. "We'll bring her here next month after she's regained more strength. You and me and Patricia celebrating her recovery properly." "You really think she's going to stay in remission?" Naomi asked. "The doctors sound confident, but I'm afraid to believe it completely. Afraid that if I hope too much, something will go wrong." "She's going to stay healthy," Min-seok said firmly. "She's too stubborn to let cancer win after coming this far. She raised you, didn't she? That kind of fierce determination runs in families." After dinner, they walked through the Mission, the neighborhood alive with music and laughter, murals bright on every building, the energy of San Francisco at night. Min-seok reached for Naomi's hand and she let him take it, their fingers intertwining naturally. "This is nice," she said. "I need to tell you something." Naomi's heart jumped. "What?" "I've been offered a visiting professorship in Seoul," he said. "1 semester teaching corporate law at my old university. It's prestigious, good for my career, but it would mean being away for 4 months. I haven't decided whether to take it because I don't want to leave you, don't want to be apart when we're just starting to build something real." "What if I came with you?" Naomi said impulsively. "To Seoul? For the whole semester?" "If you want me to," she continued. "I can work remotely for the non-profit. And I've got the whistleblower money, so expenses aren't a concern. It might be good to get away from San Francisco for a while, away from all the memories." "You'd do that?" Min-seok asked, his eyes searching hers. "You'd come to Seoul with me even though we've only been officially dating for a few weeks?" "We've been through more together than most couples experience in years," Naomi pointed out. "And I want to see where you came from. Understand the place that shaped you. Plus the food is supposed to be amazing." "The food is incredible," Min-seok agreed, pulling her close. "And yes, I want you to come with me. I want to show you Seoul, introduce you to my parents, take you to all the places that matter to me. This could be really good for us." "Then it's settled," Naomi said, kissing him there on that Mission Street corner. "We're going to Seoul.